In our last video, we created this product component, product component.ts. We created a product list component, and then we put it into our app component, which was our app component.html, and we plopped it into our component using these directives. We plopped it into our HTML, and it didn't work. We got an error. So we're going to learn what that error was about. I want to direct your attention then to, if I look at app component module.ts. So it's still in the source folder, in the app folder, and then app module.ts. So this is where we're headed. All right. So the app module is the owner of the components. In other words, our Angular application is made up of a module that owns lots of components. And two components that we've seen so far is the app component.ts. Just let me remind you of what that one is. Let me put these side by side. So I'm going to put this one on the right here, or on the left. Got to get my side straight. So we have our module, which is made up of components. And one of those components was the app component. And then we created another component called the product list component, which I'm going to put beside here just so we can see them as a visual. And so I'm going to give us some real estate. So if we look at it from this angle, we have a module. The module is made up of components. It's made up of the app component, as we can see here, and it's made up of the product list component. And what's happening then, let's look at the module. So if the module owns our components, for lack of a better way to word it, let's see what we're looking at on this TS, this app modules component, not component. Words are so hard sometimes. So we're going to look at the app module, which is the module that owns our two components. And if you look at this, should look sort of familiar. So we start off with exporting a class, just like we did here. We're exporting the app module. And just like we did here, where we had decorators that decorated this particular class as a component, we're decorating this particular class as a module, NgModule. And just like we had to import from Angular core files up here, we also have to import NgModule from Angular core here. And so the pattern is the same. This is just the root, or the head kahuna, for lack of a better way to describe that. All right, so let's look at what else we have going on here. So we have a property called declarations, and we have a property called imports, and we have a property called bootstrap. So let me break these down for you. So declarations is how we tell the Angular project, the Angular module, look, you've got a component, you've got some components, and this is how we kind of register or make sure that Angular is aware of those components. And so that's how Angular will be able to find the directives. And that means that if I look in direct declarations right now, I have app component. So this module is aware of the app component. And so if we utilize this selector, Angular says, oh, I know about that component. It's been registered with me, so I know about this information. The other component of that, for lack of a better, part of that is, this is how we tell Angular, that's where you will find, that's the path that you will find the app component. That's where you'll find it physically in the file structure. You'll find it under the app folder. In the current folder. Let me just give you the visual, sorry. So app module, you're in source folder. So in the source folder, you will be able to find app.component, which is in the same folder. App.component, what is it looking for? Let's give you the whole path there. Oh, just app component. So the app component is the TS, so it's looking for the TS file. So I thought the TS was at the end, but it apparently wasn't necessary. So, all right. So app module, you will be able to find the app component in the current directory. Let me look at this again so I can break that down. What happened to my app component? Here it is. I have two app components now. There we go. So Angular, you'll be able to find the app component. which is here, you'll be able to find the app component in this folder, which is the current folder that you're reading this from. So I'm reading it from here, so I can look in the same folder, and you're going to find the component in app.component. So that's what we called it. So that's where that connection is coming from. All right. Let's look at the rest of this before we move on. And then in imports, imports are external libraries that Angular needs to know about. And one of the external libraries that is being utilized is the library called browser module, which is allowing us to, it's how Angular is manipulating our browser for us. So that's usually there because this is a web application. And so imports is for external libraries then, and one of which, and we'll use some more later, is the browser module, which you need in order to render to display the browser. So declarations are for internal or local, if you will, components or local things that you need to know about. Imports then is external libraries that you need to know about. And so what is this bootstrap? Bootstrap is a little confusing to us because we think of the bootstrap framework, but that's not what's meant here. Bootstrap is another word for startup, for lack of a better explanation. So where do I start? What Angular application? You need to start with the app component. And so that's how Angular knows when we start up our browser that this is the starting point, and the starting point is to render the app component.html. So what do we need to do to fix our problem that occurred on our last video? Well, if you're kind of already in tune to the fact that we said that Angular needs to know about our app component. Well, Angular also then, in order to render our new component, it has to know about this one. And so we have to register our product list component with our module. So I'm going to comma and add product list component. There it is. And it says auto import from. So Visual Studio is helping me. And it says, shall I import it? And the answer was yes. So it imported product list component from, notice the new path. It's not the local path. It's the folder products with the product component in it. And so now that we have that, if I bring up my browser, wherever my browser happens to be, it's on the other page. So I'm going to bring that over on my other monitor. And so now you're starting to see, if you look at our template, this is in fact what's on that template. So now we have successfully registered our product with the app module, with the module of this application.